Welcome back to another episode of the Second Look Hockey Podcast. As always, I'm your host, David Leo. Joined with me today, as always, my co-host, Cristian Ceniti, producer Mando, behind the scenes today. Cristian, we've got our Cup Final set. Our Stanley Cup Final is set. It's a rematch between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. And before we jump into that, it's been a while since we've been on here. Do we want to go through what's been going on the last couple of weeks with us?
I would definitely like to, especially from your perspective. Did a little bit of traveling, so let's talk about it a bit.
Magellan Dave, I went to Arizona last weekend. So I'll start it right off the rip. I missed a few of those Eastern Conference final games because the Airbnb we were staying at, they had Roku TV, so you have to pay to watch any sports. Like I couldn't watch the NBA unless we went out to like a bar, and even at the bars that we went to, they were just showing NBA stuff for the most part. So it was tough to like really get anything on the games. We had to like just watch highlights and stuff after, but the actual trip was very nice. So we weren't going for hockey to Arizona. I thought maybe we'd get to see like Austin Matthews in Scottsdale. We didn't, but it was I mean, as a golf trip, as somebody who is starting to get more and more into golf, I have more of an appreciation for like the courses and stuff there, and like wow, like the views there, beautiful, the weather, beautiful, the vibes also, like you can just tell like a lot of the people kind of
it's a relaxed life out in Arizona.
It really is. Like for whoever says like otherwise, like no, they're wrong. Just like a weekend there told me otherwise. So
I do have two questions for you then from the trip, and I'll get the hockey one out of the way. You run into like any Arizona Coyotes, like people wearing their hats, a jersey here and there, anything Coyotes? Yeah, you saw some stuff. Okay.
It was at the casino. We went to the casino one night, and I saw a guy with the Kachina.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, dude, don't make me cry in the casino right now." We also passed by Mullet Arena.
Oh yeah.
So the way that the other thing I was a bit surprised about is the way that, like Arizona set up. All the cities are like right beside each other. So the Yotes, they played in Glendale, Scottsdale, and Tempe, right? Like those were like the three main. All three of them are within 10 minutes of each other. So it's like it's Glendale, Scottsdale's here, Phoenix. We didn't really go into downtown Phoenix, so we didn't see like State Farm. I think that's where, or no, State Farm's in Glendale, so we didn't see that. And Chase Field's in downtown Phoenix, so we didn't go down there. But Glendale, Scottsdale, Tempe, Mesa, Phoenix, they're all within like 10 minutes of each other. I would say
only other city I could name for you is Tucson, because the Roadrunners were there.
And Tucson's
right
like
down the road too. Okay,
10 minutes from there too. It's crazy. It's like, I would say it's like the cities that we're in, but they just don't have any traffic. So it feels like you're in and out of each city. It was crazy. There's no traffic.
From the GTA to the GPA, the Greater Phoenix area, and
it was such a like a change, because we landed. We took a red eye, so we landed at 6:30, and that is like peak, like rush hour morning traffic, and we're just coming over, and we look down at the 401, and it's bumper to bumper. I'm like,
we're back.
Did not miss that. We're back. I did not miss that.
Other question for you.
Yeah,
Gotta ask this on like any trip. What was the food highlight? Did you have something you're just like, man, I wish we had this back home?
Okay, so we did. We tend to do at least one like higher end place, and that higher end place is called Toca Madera. And Toca Madera is like a Mexican fusion restaurant. and the food there was amazing. Like the meats and stuff, the carne, like
Yeah.
asada, all that stuff was great. But guess where else we went? We went
Okay.
to a place made popular now, I would say. I mean, it's popular in Arizona, but it's made popular now here by Paul Bissonnette.
Where was the fight? I already forget, but I'm guessing
At
yeah.
Houston's. So we went to Houston's
Okay.
restaurant in
Yeah.
in Scottsdale. It was
Gotcha.
legitimately 10 minutes from our Airbnb too. We found that out like the second last day of the trip, and we're
Are
like,
you saying you went to like the exact location
we
where
went
it
to
happened?
the exact
Oh, okay.
location where it
That's
happened. Like we saw the
yeah.
CVS where he had to like run into to get
Yeah.
away from
That's
his
hilarious.
attackers.
Do they have like something framed in the restaurant where it's
No.
like, here's Biz, he signed his, here's a piece of his skin that he lost. He signed it for us. We got it up on the wall.
The
He,
people
he should have a
there?
jersey in there. He should definitely have a jersey in there.
I tried to do like a little bit of a litmus test because I would say Houston's is like a higher end version of like a Baton Rouge. So already like
Okay, yeah.
semi nice, and
So
then
it's like the keg. Would you say something?
I would
like
say
that?
I would say around like the keg, but it has more of that Baton Rouge vibe. Is
Okay.
that was the thing that I got right off
Alright.
the bat. I was like, oh, that
We're
I
getting
know
into the
what
nitty gritty here. Like, if anyone's listening, they're just like in
deep
their head
cut.
trying to visualize, like, okay, Baton Rouge, some keg. Like,
I don't
this
know
is
if
fun.
Baton Rouge is Canada wide or if it's just like a GTA Ontario based.
Couldn't
But
tell you.
if you're in the GTA and you know what Baton Rouge is, I would say it's more like that. That's the type of feel
Yeah.
I got in there.
What was
And
your
I
order at this place? What did you get?
Okay, so their specialty was a full rack of ribs, and I know you like ribs,
Dude, yeah, like I'm there in a heartbeat.
dude.
We're gonna have to move to hockey really quick because I'm like Tommy's gonna be grumbling here,
If
man.
I'm gonna tell you, go look at the plate of ribs. It like literally like it
Yeah.
was one of those long dishes that they serve it on. It was a full rack,
Oh.
and it was like fall off the bone. But I didn't
Man.
get that. I had their next specialty, which is a French dip, like the sandwich, and that was fantastic. Literally everybody else at my table got the ribs except for me because I was like, I don't know if I want to deal with the ribs tonight. We were gonna leave
Sure.
like later on that day, so I was like,
Had
I'm
on a
not-
good fit. You're like, this is a little bit risky. Gonna be
Yeah.
out on the street. Yeah,
I
yep.
did try one of the ribs from my buddy gave me one.
Yeah.
I gave him a little piece of the French dip to try. Dude, the ribs were phenomenal. Like genuinely so good.
I mean, you mentioned Baton Rouge. Like that is my go-to at Baton Rouge. So if it's
Yeah.
even like,
I
as
know
good
they
as-
do it-
If it's just as good as there, like
They
that's
do it very
That's all I need to
good.
hear.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
Baton Rouge
Yeah.
does it very good, but yeah, Houston's really
Okay.
brought it. Shout out to Biz for that call out, and yeah, shout out to him for 1v8ing some people.
Incredible.
On that note, though, I think maybe we do jump into our
Yep.
our conference finals.
Got nothing crazy for you from my week. I've been forcing steaks onto the barbecue even in the bad weather because I'm just like I need to eat
Oh,
something that makes
that's what
me
I've
feel
been
like
hearing.
it's summer. So
I heard
That's what
all
I've been
week,
doing,
all
but yeah.
last weekend was just brutal in the city. We left in
Oh, yeah.
brutal weather, and I was like, thank God.
yeah, you came right back to it. All right, let's do it. Let's go.
Okay, so on that note, where do you want to start first? Do you want to start in the East or do you want to start in the West?
I think let's start in the order that these series finished. Let's start in the East here.
Okay, so the Carolina Panthers, they're taken down in 5 games.
Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes.
Carolina
Hey,
Hurricanes.
you got some football. This is what happens when you go to Arizona for a bit.
I met a Carolina Panthers fan in
Okay,
Philly,
okay.
too, so I was like, oh my God, I knew that was going
That
to happen.
explains that.
Because I also said that as well. Yes, the Carolina Hurricanes taken down in 5 games at the hands of the Florida Panthers. So the Florida Panthers now 3 times in a row going back to the Stanley Cup Finals. They're 1-1 in their previous 2 meetings or previous 2 appearances there. And man, it's really tough for me to kind of bet against them. I'll be honest with you, Christian. I've had money on the Florida Panthers to win the cup since before the playoffs started. I got them at pretty good value because they They snuck in, but they went in kind of unders, being
Yeah.
third seed in the Atlantic Division, right? And this is before I kind of figured if somebody was gonna have to if the Leafs were gonna go through against the Sens, which they did, and the Panthers were gonna have to go through against the Lightning, which they did, they'd end up meeting each other. And as much as the Leafs losing to them hurt, I still have I could take a little bit of solace that I could win some money off of them. But
I'm sure whatever number you got it, like you said, like whatever number it was that you got it at, probably better than what it is right now.
Oh, it's definitely a lot better than right now, for sure.
Actually, yeah, that's a given. But like, even if just
even like after the first round, if you put money on them, it probably still would have been better if you did it beforehand. Obviously, right? Like everything kind of
yes.
The money just tends
There's
to
just less teams,
go that way. Yeah, you're right.
My point,
100%. But yeah, for the Panthers, who do you want to tackle first? You want to tackle the winner, or do you want to tackle the loser?
You know what?
First?
Let's get the Carolina stuff out of the way here. Unfortunately, like it was a dismantling in a way that we've seen fairly recently. Like the two teams matched up a couple years ago, and the only difference is that Carolina was able to squeak out one win, their first win in 16 tries in the Eastern Conference Final, like to break that streak. So no, it was a dismantling. It kind of sucks if you're like, obviously it sucks if you're a Carolina fan, but I mean, it is almost a similar conversation to the Leafs where it's like, how many times can you get to like the same kind of wall that you've been up against and lose in really the same fashion basically every time? So it's not like the Hurricanes have found a new way to lose here. It's always just by pure utter domination. It makes it makes it look like every step that they take is for nothing, like that their system just does not work against certain teams. It can look fantastic against others, like just how they dismantled the Capitals because they kind of played a similar game and just did it way better. Yeah. And then in the Eastern Conference Finals here, I would say it's two different styles, two different philosophies, distinct philosophies, and one just totally trumped the other. I want to give tons of credit to two guys in particular from Carolina. First being Logan Stankoven, who I think even before the Florida series was someone that, even go back to the regular season, just an instant fit in Carolina. And a lot of people have said that he's kind of prototypical Carolina Hurricane that they were able to acquire in the Mikko Rantanen flip. I wouldn't even say that. I think if you put Logan Stankoven on any damn team, he's a good fit, to be honest. Like, you tell me Logan Stankoven in a Leafs top six doesn't look good? Definitely. And I really do think he's just kind of a fit on any team type of deal. I don't know if anyone thought he was a perfect fit in Dallas like before his debut, but he just adapted to that lineup to look good there. Same idea in Carolina. He really showed that he can be a important piece. Like, he is going to be a top six fixture for them. That was a great consolation prize in the Rantanen chaos.
Especially given how young he is too. Like, he's not. Yeah. Is he 20 yet, or is he? He
is 20. I think I want to say he's 22 or 23. I'll give a look here. But the other guy
regardless,
too is also the other guy too is Jarvis, right? Like, just two young guys, right? And for him, the shout is just more of the injury that he went through, and he revealed this over the weekend. Just a shoulder injury that he's been dealing with basically most of the season. I'm assuming. I was going to say assuming before Four Nations, but you know what? It could have even been before then. I don't know if he specified, but he basically said he's not going to get surgery on it this summer because he wants to be ready for next season and he wants to be in consideration for the Olympic team. And I mean, just watching him this year, I don't know. If you told me that he was fully healthy, I would have believed you just because he was playing so well. Like, he was still putting up great numbers. He's another one of the dogs in that lineup. Like, kudos to Stankoven and Jarvis. What do you got on those two? Or either of them, yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, especially with Stankoven, I'm going to go back to his age. Coming into that Dallas Stars team, especially, that was already lined with talent and making an impact almost immediately. I know a Star, I think, dipped a little bit at the beginning half of this year before the trade to Carolina, but still, like, just sticking around in that lineup was already going to be a hard task in itself. And then for him to have to like kind of uproot his life at a young age and move to Carolina and almost kind of like seemingly just fit in like a glove. Maybe that's that has to do with the system in place. Like you said, the system probably just fits him better in Carolina. But let's also give credit to the people, like the staff and stuff around Carolina, to have him in there and to fit him in seamlessly, right? Like it takes a lot, especially for somebody at that age, to jump in and look as good as he did so quickly. And for Canes fans, I know you missed out on Mikko Rantanen, and we saw his production kind of tail off in the conference finals, but the first two rounds of those playoffs probably weren't the greatest, even though that the Canes were winning, but you see Mikko Rantanen on the other side of the bracket just absolutely tearing things up, and you're like, what if, right? Yeah, I don't even know if you have Rantanen there, like maybe you win 6 games, like
Yeah.
for Carolina as a whole, what are they gonna have to do to? It kind of feels to me like they're going to have to kind of pull back in order to go forward. They're going to have to maybe take a couple blocks away in order to build back up again. I feel like maybe this is just the extent of what this iteration of the Hurricanes can be. I don't know if you have a similar thought there, if maybe you think differently.
The good thing is they're gonna have a lot of cap space this summer. So in terms of like pulling away from some guys, on the blue line especially, you have the Brent Burns deal that comes up. Okay, so that was a hefty one, even with the retention that I think they had. Also, and this is a guy, if we gave some shout outs, a guy that just, especially in one game in particular, I think it was in game 3, Dmitry Orlov, his deal is up, and he had one of the roughest individual games I've seen all playoffs, maybe even in a couple playoffs. Like, it was awful. Awful, awful, awful. And it was a performance that I don't even know if you can come back from it another year. Like, especially with his deal up. Like, I think if he was under contract, they might have looked to trade him. It was that much of like a, this isn't gonna work here type of deal. And listen, he's a great player. Like, he's definitely a top 4 guy. We saw Bobby Orlov in Boston for that little bit of time. So
yeah, I know
he'll land on his feet.
100%.
But I think that's somewhere you could see some DNA change.
I think right from the
word from Brad.
I think right from the start for him, like, just because he was already being pushed down the lineup as soon as he signed there.
Just because the blue line's like really good. Like, it's not. Yeah. It was less of an Orlov thing and more of a, you have Slavin, and I think, well, he signed in the Pesci last year, right? Yeah. Burns, Chatfield and Walker this year. Like, there's just a bunch of names there. Nikishin now. Like, it's a loaded blue line. That's always been kind of the calling card, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but $7 million for him, I think that's going to be used elsewhere.
7.5, like 7.7, like it's like almost $8 million, right? For a guy that was he like, he wasn't their out and out, like that should be your 1D, maybe 2D. Like, was he even that?
No, I think with Carolina, it's like really the number one defenseman will always be Slavin, just because of how much they play the guy, how much they trust the guy. But then they do need someone to pick up the offensive side of it. And this year they had Gostisbehere, who I think like fit in pretty well. And I think you would have been reasonable to have like doubts that would work, because Gostisbehere to me doesn't seem like a Carolina system guy. And so in a sense it worked, but at the same time, it didn't, because this is the result that we're talking about. So I don't know if with that, the thing is, once again, like, just the free agent market is not great on the forward or the blue line, really. Like, I don't know if you could go and poach an Ekblad and get his money for Orlov's, like, maybe that feels good for you, but yeah, I feel like they're going to do a personnel change on the blue line, but it's going to be internal. I talked about Nikishin before the playoffs. I thought, like, he'd be someone instantly stepped in. They very much eased him in and didn't get him in until they really needed him because of
Yeah.
injuries. But I think he showed flashes that like he's just a solid, a rock solid, well built dude that is going to he'll fit in as soon as next year. And I think once again I will double down on saying like I think he will be a difference maker for the Carolina Hurricanes next year.
Oh.
Scott Morrow, another young guy who that you know what it was like? It was like whenever the Leafs started getting Sandin into lineups in the playoffs, and you kind of are like, we like Sandin, doesn't look great in the playoffs. That's kind of what happened with Scott Morrow, but he's another one where it's like lower the blue line. If he's your 5 or 6, you feel good about that. So like internal DNA changes on the blue line, and then like. I'll do this first. RFA's another guy that could get a shout out is Jackson Blake. Like I don't know if you saw much of him this playoffs, but like thoroughly impressed. They had him on like some PP1s in the Panthers series, and like he looked the part completely. He's an RFA, so actually no.
I had him. He's
not RFA. He's got one more year on here still.
Yeah, I had him as my breakout player.
Yeah.
When we did our the first playoff prediction, and I don't think he had that great of a series against who did they play in the first round? Oh, Jersey. He was the guy that I was I was pegging as somebody to have an impact down deep in the lineup. I don't think he really did, but then against the Caps, he started to turn it on, which impressed me. And then I mean, even when he's not on the score sheet, I would say Blake is he's a noticeable guy, regardless if he's getting in on anything. Which
that's how I felt about him too. Yeah.
For somebody playing deep in the lineup, that's all you can ask for. I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited to see how he develops alongside the other young guys on the team. But there's something I do have to ask before we jump off of them. But was it in Game 5 where Jesperi Kotkaniemi took just a brutal penalty?
I was just about to bring it up. Yeah.
Are they looking to maybe? Do you think that they'd be? I mean, they should. I think personally, they should be looking to kind of get out from under that deal. He's still got.
He's got 4 years of it still. And he is crazy that he's only 24 still. That is crazy.
That's ridiculous. I thought he'd be almost at 30. Yeah. It feels like he's been in the league for so long.
Honestly, I still have. I'll never forget just the Habs fan being I can't remember if it was it a Habs fan or was it actually Zadina's mom who was what the hell when the Habs picked Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh,
they just immediately had some lady in the crowd, and she became the meme from that draft because it felt like Zadina was a lock there, and then they went with Kotkaniemi. Anyways, long way of saying feels like dude's been in the league for a long time. He's making 4.82. You know what? You look, it's like you said, they should 100% be looking to get off that money. Who the hell is looking to get on it, though? Who's looking to take that? It's a really tough one. It just goes to show you that for all the offer sheet talk, where it just feels like, oh, you can get a fantastic player for some draft picks. Why don't more teams do it? This is one example where you locked yourself into a deal that you kind of quickly regretted, right? This is
almost immediately too.
Yeah, this was once again about the offer sheet stuff. Offer sheets are often spiteful. That's what that one was. That was because Sebastian Aho got offer sheeted by the Canadians, and they said, "Well, now we'll go and do it to your guy." Haha. Turns out the joke was on themselves. I know that wasn't Tulski, but he's paying the price now. I mean, like I said, the good thing is they have so much cap space where it isn't a crucial season or off season to move Kotkaniemi. And it sounds stupid, but you've seen a lot that shows you that maybe this isn't a great fit, but only 24 years old. Only 24 years old. And last thing I'll say, just in terms of like what they could look to do in the summer, is a Mitch Marner. Like, I think they'll try that. We'll see if Mitch is more
If
interested now that he doesn't have a no move clause, but they'll try. I don't see why they wouldn't.
I was listening to the most recent episode of 32 Thoughts, and Elliot Friedman also brought that up in Carolina's favor, saying that Tom Dundon is looking and really trying aggressively to get a what they call a star player. So somebody that's a big reason why they went through with the Mikko Rantanen deal, right? And they weren't able to get him under on their terms. So if they want to make a push for Marner, like that's a team that historically really doesn't spend, and under his ownership, they don't. If they don't have to, like, they don't want to break the bank, basically. But
Yeah, this is how I would describe it. Is like they know that every dollar counts, and they want to make every dollar count. So
they want to maximize their money.
Yes,
right.
And, I mean, it's funny that we're saying that right after the Kotkaniemi stuff. So that was like their thing was there. That was a calculated risk that they saw and said, "Oh, we get him at 4 whatever. He should be a $7 million player." And instead, like,
he's probably at a 4.
Like, he's probably exactly. He's
yeah.
probably 3.5, 4. Like it's not like the upside was there, and it was better than the downside. So like you get it, but you're right. That is the philosophy. And with Mitch, like I don't know, like if how much could the calculation be off? Is he gonna be a $12 million player getting paid 1.5 million more than that, 13.5? That's not that bad when you put it that way. Like that's you could be less efficient, I guess. So
I feel like to get Mitch in to Carolina, I think the number has to start probably at about 14 though. I just feel like I feel like I feel like it might be market dependent. Like maybe
definitely.
If another Carolina's not a tax free state, but let's say it was one of the tax free states, maybe that number isn't that high. Maybe it's at 12.5, 13, like you were saying. Maybe it's a little bit less, but it feels like to go to Carolina where it's already not the biggest destination market either. Unfortunately, I've heard only good things about Raleigh, but it does feel like you're going to also have to overspend because of that factor as well. So if Tom Dundon does want to make a push, I could see that number jumping as high as 14, maybe in the 14s, in the low 14s, I would expect. Does Tom Dundon have the stomach to do that? Like, is he going to put pride aside? Is my thought. That I heard that thrown out there, and that gave me a little bit of pause because they should definitely be a player for it, but can they flex their muscle, let's say, as much as some other teams could? I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see. They are still in the running. Apparently, I think the last thing I saw from Darren Dreger is like there's like only a few finalists now for the Mitch Marner sweepstakes, and it's of course obviously he's got the Leafs in there, but Vegas is in there, and I believe the Canes are the other one that are still sniffing around. So yeah, on that note, we can jump into the team that everybody wants to beat. Everybody's trying to emulate. Everybody wants to beat them. The Florida Panthers. They are the cream of the crop right now. It's so crazy to think of. I saw a Panthers fan post a video. Do you remember? I would have been 2023. The reason that they got into the playoffs was because the Pittsburgh Penguins lost to the Chicago Blackhawks. Imagine how different the league would look right now. And maybe they would have missed for only one season and then go right in and win the next year. But imagine how different the NHL looks if the Pittsburgh Penguins held off the Chicago Blackhawks that game and inserted themselves in the playoffs instead of the Florida Panthers.
It's an absolutely crazy thought experiment. Yeah, just because even like you said, like if the Panthers still become the Panthers the very next year, everything else for whatever reason stays in place, which I don't think it would be. We're gonna do the crazy experiment though. Like if you look at just that year, I mean, not to be all center of the universe, but the Maple Leafs path looks a little bit different that year too. Who knows? Like maybe it is the Bruins and their crazy record, or wherever they. I guess it would have been Pittsburgh in that spot.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if Pittsburgh would have beat the Bruins there if they couldn't beat the Blackhawks in that one game. But yeah, like no, it is really, really, really crazy to think about. It's just as crazy to me that we have back to back three-peat finalists out of the same division,
State.
out of the same state. Like
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. And just like comparing, contrasting the two, I don't know, which one would you say is the more impressive team? Because I'm kind of leaning, and this is obviously before we see the result of the final, but and maybe it's recency bias, but this Florida team, it's just so cohesive. It's been
Um,
dominant. It's been
so
dominant.
I'm gonna lean Florida for as much as everybody wanted to talk. Like I'm still gonna hold Tampa in high regard. Um, but I think it would also like it would kind of be remiss to not to also mention like their 2020 Cup. How much traveling did they really have to do? Because that was the COVID bubble cup where everybody's stuck in two cities, right? So it's not like so Tampa they played Columbus that year. Who they had to play the Islanders that year. Who did they play in the second round?
Uh, b- 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 in the bubble, wasn't it the Panthers? No, no, you're saying wasn't it the Panthers?
Could have been. Who knows?
Yeah,
Regardless, you're not traveling. Like you're staying in one city right until you
yeah,
get to the finals, where then you just have to go to like another city, but you're still staying in that city.
yeah. It was Toronto and Edmonton were the two bubble spots.
Were the two bubble spots, right? So this Florida Panthers team, we saw all the talk last year. Florida and Edmonton are it's the farthest traveled in terms of man miles between two Cup finalist teams, right? Like that is not easy either. I take travel into account. I take not playing in front of the fans. I don't know if it has that great of an effect, but I'm going to take different things into account from those 3 years because they kind of got like those Tampa Bay Lightning teams got the full effects of everything because they when they lost in the Cup Finals, it was as close to being like a regular Cup final as it was the previous 2 years. So they kind of got to go through everything. This Florida Panthers team, on top of being like just a well-oiled wagon, which I think at that point, like the Lightning were the well-oiled wagon, and some moves that were necessary kind of dismantled a core part of that team. A lot of their depth of that team kind of had to get gutted because guys were looking for new deals. Maybe we kind of start to see the same now with the Panthers going forward. I don't know because they're in a great position to even just keep it rolling. Like even if they lose this year, like they're in a great position to just go right back next year. That's how
Yeah,
ridiculous this team is.
and like how many times like at least in the playoffs, we don't really do the fatigue talk with the Florida Panthers. We did it this year in the regular season, and they shut us up real quick. Even with Edmonton, like this is one of the talking points that's been bandied about just in general. Is just some teams, especially with the experience of getting this far in the playoffs, they really do know how to keep the switch off in the regular season, but immediately turn it off in the playoffs. And
Yeah.
I really do think that with the travel talk, like you can conserve some of your energy for when it really matters. The Florida Panthers did not give a crap what seeding they ended up with, right? Like if throwback to when we were like the Panthers are they're tanking to face the Leafs in the first round. I mean,
I thought it was true. I was
brother, it
like, oh
didn't
my
matter
god,
if
these
it was
guys
first, second, whatever, right?
they
So
were
no,
inevitable for the Leafs.
yeah, yeah. So that didn't matter. Same for the Oilers with another tough start. They didn't get like a crazy McDavid year. It was Leon Draisaitl. It just doesn't matter. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter. And yeah, the Panthers have just been, as much as we hate them. Like I was gonna say respectfully hate them. Maybe half respectfully hate them. Half respectfully, because goddamn are they a hateable team.
Yeah, I was
listen,
gonna
man,
say,
yeah, it's
in terms of Leafs most like the most hated rivals, at least two teams that I could think of that have had a prolonged period of success during like the years that we've been watching. I'm gonna leave the Habs out of this, but between the Bruins and between the Panthers, who do you hate more?
I am going to still go Bruins because it spans multiple eras of the Leafs.
Okay,
Right?
fair.
You have the Kesselfanoff era, right? You got that one, which that's like as for me, like that, and for you too, I'm sure, like that is your first true Leaf
Heartbreak.
heartbreak.
Yeah.
We had just heard the tales of the playoffs. We didn't know what those were until we got to experience it for ourselves, and
That was also the
right?
start of the because the heartbreak before meant losing in Game 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals. It wasn't losing a 4-1 lead in the first round.
Yeah, but like, do you remember those? I don't remember.
No, that's what I mean.
right?
Like hearing
Yeah.
those tales were like it
Yes.
was like they were going into the third round.
You would love that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would kill for that right now.
I'm getting stories about if it wasn't for Wayne Gretzky's high stick, then right, like
in Game 7 of the conference final.
man, if it wasn't for Matt Fradden not being able to get the hat trick, like that's our freaking that's what we're saying. Yeah. So
that's
anyways, there's that. And then like you also like the Bruins, god damn it, beat us 3 times in the Matthews era. They beat us when we were still full of some hope, right? Like you're like, the Matthews, like these guys are so young. You know, Babcock's he's gonna pull a Dave Leo. He's gonna take a trip to Arizona. He is gonna meet Austin Matthews. He's gonna talk with him. Things will be fine. Yeah, yeah. Right?
I forgot that was a thing.
It was. And then they beat us as recently as last year when we thought that this is it. Like after we finally let go of the demons, win around, and then didn't matter. So they've had our numbers in all different kinds of ways. And like I said, as much as the Panthers, they've taken care of us twice here in the past 3 years. There's something especially heartbreaking about the way the Bruins have done it so consistently. Brad Marchand is maybe the constant there.
Well,
both of them.
there is a common denominator between both teams. Speaking of Brad Marchand, man, what a resurgent playoff he's had. Like it,
it's another guy. He turned on the switch.
Yeah, especially last year where I know did he have an OT winner against us in the playoffs? Or I know he scored a backbreaking goal. I remember that, but it was like I think his only goal in that series against the Leafs.
No, he was not like.
It didn't look like Brad Marchand, I would say, last year. Yeah. And even at points this year, like when we played them in the regular season against Boston, it didn't look like the same Brad Marchand. So I think a lot of people had some reservations about him because they're like, he's getting up there in age. His body is starting to break down. What can this guy bring to an already deep Florida Panthers lineup? And guess what he's brought? He's brought a wealth of veteran leadership and a whole host of rats. I hate him. I really do. But I can't help but just be like, I mutually hate him. Like that's where I'll end off my Brad Marchand tag. I don't want to gush about him too much because it might make me a little bit sick. But man, oh man, he's had one heck of maybe one of his last playoff runs, could be one of his last deep runs. Who knows?
We talked about it after the Leaf series ended about what if Brad Marchand was a Leaf? What if the Leaf fan did this? And I still stick with my take. And I mean, clip this and send it back to me when, God forbid, it happens. But like, if Brad signed with us and we won the thing, it would not be the Toronto Maple Leafs Stanley Cup. It would be the Brad Marchand Stanley Cup. I would, even if he never said it, in my mind, I would tell myself that it was an inside job by Brad Marchand to join the Leafs, win the cup with them, just so he can say these idiots couldn't have done it without me. I'm the only reason. That's how like. It is the
Listen,
ultimate bow down to Brad Marchand as owner of this franchise. Like we would have to have. Could you imagine? Because you already know. Like if we did the thing with Brad Marchand, the entire roster's numbers would be retired at that point.
statues for everybody. Statues
Yeah,
lining front
Legends
street.
Row 2, and it's just the team that does the thing,
That
right?
does
So
it, yeah.
I'm still here telling myself I do not want to see him. I do not want to live in this timeline that I just described, Dave.
See, I was gonna say like, if that sentiment applies to the Panthers, but they've won the thing, so I guess it really doesn't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, going back to the Panthers though, they.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would say probably as close to like a master class in taking down an opponent against the kid. Like from what I saw, so I wasn't watching live, but from what I saw, it frankly didn't even look close in like four of the 5 games, like except for the game that they lost.
Yeah, yeah. And that was a back up against the wall, like throw everything you've got left. It was a pride game. We're still talking about the Hurricanes having not won an Eastern Conference Finals game in what, more than or not more than 2 decades, but close to it.
It's about 2 decades, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what that was. Like I said, they dismantled them, and it was just the juxtaposition of the two play styles in terms of like they made Carolina look tiny. They manhandled, they bullied them, had all their usual antics that you expect from the Florida Panthers, but playing a heavy game, and it's not like Carolina can't play. Like their whole thing is a aggressive forecheck, and it should be things that lean into also playing the body and being physical, like aggressive in just like their mentality, not just their structure. And it didn't have it was too little too late, because they did finally show it in the final 2 games of the series, and in one of them they were able to get a win, and in game 5 it just fell apart. So it is credit to Florida, because I don't know how many teams could make it look that easy, but they did. That's how they earned that spot. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just reading something here that when game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals gets underway, the Florida Panthers will break the record for the most games played in a 3-season span all time. So the record right now is 308. Game 2 will be game 309. The only other 2 teams to get up to 308 are the Dallas Stars between 97-98 and 99-2000, and then the Detroit Red Wings in 2006-07 to 2008-09. Coincidentally, I believe Dallas made the finals 2 of those 3 seasons in those years, and so did Detroit. So yeah, it makes sense. You know, you go to 3 straight Cup Finals, you're gonna be playing a lot of games. A lot of hockey being played. Other than that, I saw some stuff after between Rod Brind'Amour and Paul Maurice, and the handshake line. Paul Maurice, he's saying that the handshake line should be reserved for players only, and he wasn't going to go down the line and shake the hands of the other team. Hey Paul, get round 1 and round 2. I think you went down the line.
So not round 2. He didn't do it against
just
the
round
Leafs,
1.
But round 1 he did. So he had change of heart after round 1, and after however many years he's been doing it.
Yeah. So what changed?
Okay, so there's another superstition that we'll talk about as well, which is the touching of the Clarence Campbell.
The Bulls.
Both of the Bulls, right? You just started, like, I think it was Lindros, apparently. I'll pull it up after. It's Lindros who started this trend, and I'd have to look to see if I'm assuming it was his first time that he had the opportunity to do it, so at least it's not like he broke his own trend, but like it just happened. Like you start a trend and it's stuck for whatever reason. I actually don't hate Paul Maurice for Like, it's possible for Paul Maurice to start his NHL career and get into a couple playoff series, do the handshake line, and have a thought to himself, why am I doing this? Like, do they really, like, should I be here? Like, this should just be for the players. But he kept doing it. He kept doing it until he won a cup, because I think you have a lot more cachet making that choice now. Could you imagine if Paul tried this with
After
the Winnipeg
losing a
Jets in
final?
like 20, yeah, after losing the final, just like with the Jets in 2018 or whatever, it would come off. And I think a lot of people already think that Paul Maurice is a pretty pompous guy that loves the camera, loves to
Yeah,
be in it. He's got a joke ready for
100%.
every media conference. That's fair. Like he is that.
That would take his character to like a new level.
Yeah, it would be too much. It would be too much. But I think to himself, he might have said, "I can't. I have this feel. I have this thought. I can't do it as a coach who hasn't won a Stanley Cup." Now, for whatever reason, he's decided, you know what? Why not? I'll start this, and people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And the problem is, what made it so awkward is, for whatever reason, just Rod didn't know that this was coming, right? Because if he had seen any type of media after the Leafs Panthers series, maybe he would have known that Paul didn't shake hands, and I think he addressed it after, whether it was like post game or just after the series. Like if Rod had knowledge that that's what Paul Maurice is starting to do, it's just a lot less awkward. They had to do that right after the series ends, with Rod saying like, "Why aren't you in the line?" And
Right
Paul
on the
being
ice too.
yeah,
Like
so
in front of
it just
everybody.
became really awkward. I almost like I don't even know if I'm blaming Rod as much as it's like maybe just like the PR staff should have got that to him maybe a little bit earlier, right? Because it's not even like if you win, like it's a no matter if you win or lose, you have to have a handshake line at some point in the series. So it's not like they had to hide it from him until they were maybe in a clincher or something. I don't know. I think it was just awkward. I actually don't blame Paul too much for doing
I don't know.
this.
I feel like that's just such a weird thing to like bring up. Like, hey, if you lose, Paul's
Yeah.
not going to be on the ice, so don't freak out about it. Like,
But it's also,
like,
hey,
saying
if you
that's a
win, Paul's not
Paul's
on
not
the
going
ice,
to be
right?
there either, right?
So it doesn't matter.
I feel like that's just a weird conversation to like bring up. I've heard in the past. I think there was like there's an agreed upon thing. There was maybe in the past. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah, apparently Paul and Craig Berube agreed to it
Agreed
before
on
the
it?
series or very early in the series, and then yeah, I don't know why it didn't happen this
It didn't
time
go to
around. So
Rod.
once again, to me, it wasn't even like disrespectful or whatever. I just think it was awkward, like just
Yeah.
awkward. That's it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
it's
that's all
it's not the first
Yeah.
time that we've seen. Like, I think other teams have probably done that in the past. Like, other coaches have done it in the past, right? Like, this can't be the
I have
first
no idea.
time. I have a tough time believing this is the first time a coach has been like has foregoed the handshake line. And I don't know. I don't feel like we've really gotten any media attention out of it. Maybe I'm just misremembering things. It kind of seems like that's like the last thing on everybody's mind, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Okay, let's get a move on here.
Let's hop over to the other side of the brackets on the West. The Edmonton Oilers, they took down the Dallas Stars in 5 games as well. I thought that if I'm going to be honest with you, Christian, I thought that this series was going to be the one to go the distance. I thought it was going to be a 7-gamer. Wrong. I'll say it.
I'm very wrong too. After the Stars beat the Avs, it was like that's my cup pick. Like I'm riding their coattails to the cup, and yep, it's not happening. So,
I mean,
do you want to start with a controversy? Like we went from the one controversy. I think maybe we start with the Stars controversy here.
Yeah. I mean, so Peter DeBoer, it's 7 minutes into Game 5. They're on the brink of elimination, backs up against the wall. 2 goals go in on 2 shots on Jake Ottinger. Pete DeBoer looks like a deer in the headlights every time. Every time that guy, like something bad happens to his team. I go back to that game against the Canucks where they blew. What was it? They blew a 3-goal lead with like a minute to go. Right in the regular season.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched the like the replay, like the highlights and stuff, like the replay of that game, as soon as that third goal goes in, he has the exact same just blank face 10,000 yard stare into the opposite side of the arena. Into the abyss, yeah, and he does that too often for my liking personally. But yeah, he calls a timeout, Pete DeBoer, and he tries to get his boys fired up because, frankly, they looked bad to start that game for the first. I'd say the whole first period, they looked really, really bad. They looked stuck in mud, and he also decides to spark his boys by pulling out their Four Nation face-off backup, Team USA backup goaltender.
Starter after beating Hellebuck.
It could be.
2, okay?
Still could be. Who knows? They pull their goalie. They pull Jake Ottinger. And Jake Ottinger has to sit on the Stars bench right beside Ray Ferraro and just watch as Razor just absolutely eviscerates his performance and his team's performance for the whole game for 50 plus minutes. And
yeah, another detail.
If I was a fly on the wall, I would have killed to be in that Stars dressing room after the first.
If you were a fly on the wall, you would have died just by Jake Ottinger laying eyes on you. His piercing eyes would have combusted as that fly. Just the other detail I wanted to add is just the way that he pulled him with calling a timeout. Ottinger's on his way back to the net.
He calls him right back.
Call back that you're stopping right there halfway, brother. You're not reaching that crease. It's over for you. Like in his own words, it sucks. It was embarrassing. That's what Jake Ottinger had to say about that. And I'll pull up the DeBoer lines.
Here, I've got one for you.
Yeah, hit me.
So he says, I didn't blame it all on Jake, but the reality is, if you go back to last year's playoffs, he's lost 6 of 7 to Edmonton. And we give up 2 goals on 2 shots in an elimination game. That's a pretty big sample size. End quote.
Not mincing words there. And as recently as yesterday, DeBoer says they haven't had a chance to talk yet. Mr. Ottinger and DeBoer. Honestly,
whose side do you think that's on? Like, who's the one to reach out?
I think first? I think 100% the onus is on DeBoer. Like, that's no doubt about it. The onus is on him to reach out. If he does is another question. This does. I already referenced it once. This does take me back to the Babs trip to Arizona saga. That was after our second series loss to the Bruins. And Matthews had like 16 or 8, I think it was maybe 18 minutes of time on ice. And that was the thing. It was like, why is Freddie the GOAT out there in a
why is Patrick
spot or whatever? Yeah. So that was the conversation. And it basically prompted Babs to, after the season end, have to go to Arizona and have a one-on-one with his captain. The difference here is that was year 3 or 4 of the Leafs' Matthews era. I guess this is year 3 or 4 of the DeBoer era in Dallas, but this is now, there's almost, I don't know if history is the right word, but they've seen this through to an extent with DeBoer. And at the same time, I'm telling myself, if they wanted to let him go, who the hell are you bringing in that really makes you feel better? I don't know. Am I wrong to think that way? Because
at the same time,
who the hell thought Chris? Yeah, Mitch Love is a name that I've liked since even when the Leafs had a coaching availability after Keefe. Just a new name that hasn't got a chance, but he's apparently in the running in Pittsburgh, and I think he's like
Boston.
That's a better. Yeah, it's just a better spot for him to go to like a rebuilding or influx team than like the Stars. Like they need to win yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's what they're looking to do. As much as they
100%.
have young players who will carry them into the future, they've also got aging veterans who they're going to lose to just age, right? Jamie Benn was on 4th lines in this series. Matt Duchene deals up. Tyler Seguin was injured this year. You get at least you got bonus value out of Duchesne, and we'll see if they get it out of Ben, who's up this year, their captain.
Yeah.
So like yeah, the clock is ticking. I don't know. Do you think that this is a relationship that can be repaired between DeBoer or Otter, or do you lean on the side of them maybe
I'll be honest.
ties?
I think they might have to, for as much as maybe they don't want to. Listen, I've never been the biggest Pete DeBoer fan. He does. If they got to Game 7, I'm putting my faith in Pete DeBoer. We know his Game 7 track record, but you have to get there to get to you have to get to Game 7, right? But they couldn't. They got thoroughly outmatched this year, and they also got thoroughly outmatched last year as well against the Oilers. And I have a real tough time thinking if they make it back to this point next season, and it's, say, the Oilers again, say it's another team, do they have the will? Like, do they have that next level to make the jump? I'm not. I don't know if I'm that convinced on it. I feel like this might be the end of the road for somebody, and it's probably not Jake Ottinger.
No.
Like you said, though, the market right now, like the available, the UFA head coach market is very, very slim pickings. I don't know if you also saw like who was interviewing for the Bruins, but it was, like you said, Mitch Love. There's Marco Sturm, and like Jay Woodcroft's there. And guess who's leading the pack? Joe Sacco, the guy who.
I think there was talk of Marco Sturm as well. Like someone preemptively said he was going to be named head coach.
Yeah, I heard that too. Right? It's just like
so. No, listen, that does not inspire hope. But so here I'm going to give you the flip. I am in that camp where I agree. I don't like the UFA stuff. I mean, I like the coach availability. I am of the opinion that you stick with DeBoer, but I'll play devil's advocate to myself. Who are they up against? They're up against the Edmonton Oilers. Who the hell was Chris Knoblauch to anyone before last year?
Yeah, that is very true.
Right, and so if there's a GM to trust to make decisions, like
it's Jim Nill.
Jim Nill's made some really good ones.
The only thing I'll say though to the Knoblauch point was that I think because of his prior relationship to Connor, it gave a lot of people, for as unknown of a as unknown of a figure that he was, at the very least you can be like, well, he'll, because of the built-in relationship with Connor, sure, you have some sort of thing. But who does any of those guys really have a prior relationship to? And none of them are as good as Connor. So if you can't get, like, they obviously Knoblauch got like Connor to lock in, to give all in, and it kind of trickled down throughout the team. Who is the next guy gonna get to really lock in and get the rest of the guys to also, who've now been here under, some of them like under Rick Boness, like Sagan, Ben, I guess Hintz was there too, right? The second generation of the Stars.
A lot of these guys go back to when Jim Montgomery was with the Stars, right?
Jim Montgomery was there too.
Yeah. I still feel better about the Stars' future than the Hurricanes. Not by much. Like, I think they're both teams that are going to be set up to do a lot in the future. And the Canes, like I said, they have $28 million in cap space. Have to use it wisely this year, just because not a lot of great free agents. But I mean, on the flip side, Stars have $5 million in cap space right now, and they have here's some names to sign. Yeah, Jamie Benn, Matt Duchesne, Mikael Granlund, who Granlund they trade for, and he's a rental, but he was really good for them in that Finnish mafia line that they used sometimes. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to keep him. It is going to be tough. They put all their chips in when they traded for Mikko Rantanen. Their cap situation would have looked a lot better without Mikko Rantanen, but then obviously you don't have Mikko Rantanen, who's pretty good. Like, it's the type of risk you take. Like, I'm not going to discount that. Even if he did go quiet in this series, the chances I think were still there. And I think when you lose in 5 games, you can't really get on anyone for being bad. Like everyone, like it was a full team
Everybody was
failure,
bad.
right? So I'm not. You can't single out a guy, and I know a lot
The
of people are singling out Wyatt Johnston too for having a playoff worst plus minus. I'm not there.
I think one point of the lineup that they definitely need to look at reevaluating is they have close to $10 million tied up between Matt Dumba, Ilya Lyubushkin, and Cody Ceci. Actually, it's over $11 million tied up to those 3 players and Cody Ceci. I'll say Cody Ceci got into every game and didn't look. I would say he at least treaded water. He wasn't really sinking. But Ilya
He survived, but he didn't thrive.
Yeah. Which, listen, compared to Lyubushkin and Matt Dumba, who couldn't even get into the lineup ahead of guys like Liam Bichsel, who I thought had a coming out party, and Alexander Petrovic looked. Yeah, Alexander Petrovic looked at least competent, I would say.
Yeah. Are you suggesting to me, Dave, that the Dallas Stars could use a right-handed defenseman on a really cheap deal
from Ontario?
I'm not going to say from Ontario. I was going to say someone they played against in the series that might have played for them before. I'm rubbing salt in the wound here, but it is sweet vengeance for John Klingberg of all guys.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they could use a guy who played for them.
Hey, everybody could use
greasy with nice long black greasy hair, and is also a bit of a puck magnet on the ice. Chris Tanev. They could have used Chris Tanev in this series.
Every team Chris Tanev. Every 100%. Team in the world.
Yeah. But guess what? Yeah. They had him. Like, that's the difference, is that they had him.
Yeah, and they also had. And then his money gets spent on Matt frickin' Dumba. Yeah, like, no, I talked about Jamil, like, makes awesome decisions everywhere but on right defense. Yeah, that is it.
Well, that's the one thing that we kind of pointed to at the beginning of the playoffs, where like they could if they thrive, it's not going to be as a result of their right side, right? Like they're just going to have to kind of manage that. They were going into the playoffs knowing that. And look at where they are. So, listen, I think if something's going to have to change, it's going to need to start, or at least that's going to have to factor in. Like, that's way too much money for that right side for the production that they kind of got out of them. Other than that.
Yeah, they've just made the same mistake so many times. Like, even before this, it was Ryan Suter. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Ryan Suter honestly looked pretty good in St. Louis. Like, he looked okay.
Yeah.
But you look okay
in Dallas. Looked awful. Right? It looked awful in Dallas, and it's like you said though. It is crazy that they had not only a solution, but literally like one of the best solutions in the entire league. He's no longer a star. Anyways, I'm happy about that, Dave. I'll tell you that. I'm happy we don't live in that timeline either.
I'm very happy as well. On that
Stocks
point,
Oilers.
We can go to something that, I don't know if I'm too happy to see the Edmonton Oilers there. As much as I want Connor to win, I can't get behind.
Is it the Canadian thing? It is the Canadian thing. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, man. I think last year I cared a lot more about it. Like, not like in the back of my mind being like, I don't know if I want to.
It's also the Canadian thing, and also how many former Leafs are on that team as well.
Yeah, we should have got in that Star Series. Imagine if we got like, here's the Finnish Mafia lineup versus the ex-Leafs Mafia.
Well, it would have had to be like bad. It would have been like a combined. It would have been a combined lineup, right? That's how you get. You have now on the Oilers like Connor Brown. I know Zach Hyman. I think that will be.
He'll be in the stands. He'll be.
But not having him on the ice is a big loss for them. But you know what? I will say, you lose Zach Hyman, but you also gained the Evander Kane to start the playoffs, and I think Evander Kane has been pretty solid
Oh
after
yes,
missing all that
100%.
time.
You
Like he's
also
been,
lose Zach Hyman, you get Matthias Ekholm from his injury.
and you get
So
Matthias
I mean,
Ekholm
not in
back
the same
too.
slot, but you get stuff like that. The Evander Kane stuff goes, I think, under the radar in terms of the like. We love to talk about LTIR shenaniganery, especially for like the Florida Panthers. Edmonton Oilers were very much complicit this year. Evander Kane looked pretty, like you said, just happened to be ready for playoffs. He looked pretty good. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
100%, right? Like
yeah.
if
So many teams
you're
do it now where I can't even be that mad. Like I can't.
no, I wish more teams would just do it. So it's like it just like I know now it's like, oh, you're not really supposed to speak about it, but it's like
It sounds like so. First, we recently got like I forget who put it out. Maybe last year someone said like league will be paying more attention to this stuff. So that was like the
uh
morning shot. First off, yeah, that I don't really think
congrats.
that happened. B, I think we have gotten reports that it will be like resolved by next CBA. And as far as we know, next CBA, look like we're in pretty good shape for it to get done. Like we should not expect it to drag on. We might even get it like next week. Like
Soon.
that's
Yeah.
kind of yeah. So hopefully this isn't a problem anymore. But I just thought yeah, like we love to get on Florida and teams of the past like Vegas and Tampa who did it. But I don't know. I think if Edmonton does it this year, you will hear about it afterwards. But yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I've been thoroughly impressed with the Oilers. I forget. Did you have the Oilers winning in round one, or did you go Kings?
I went Kings.
Okay, so we're both idiots. Okay, right? So we both
Oh,
fell
well,
on our face with that.
we looked I thought after two games I was like, "Oh my god."
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
I was like, "My god, my genius is just too astounded."
Oh
They lost their
yeah,
first two games and guess what? They went 12-2 after that. Like how
yeah, yeah,
ridiculous are these like I don't know for some reason like this to me doesn't really ever even last year it just didn't ever seem like a team to
yeah.
make it all the way to the final like with all the pieces that they have but for some reason they're the greatest sum of their parts is just like you said you talked about it with Dallas getting that
Yeah, yeah.
extra going to that extra level in
Some
the
like
playoffs.
yeah, out of everyone. Yeah,
I don't think there's a team in the playoffs right now that takes it to the next level above their
yeah.
what their
What you
perceived
expect from them regularly.
expectation
Yeah,
is. Yeah, other than the Edmonton Oilers,
you're a
they're
thousand
getting
percent
Kasperi
right.
Kapanen to get OT winners for them.
Yeah,
Like come
yep.
on, like really?
No, no. I'm totally in lockstep with you, and yeah, like I said, like I doubted them from beginning of the playoffs. I doubted them in round two. I had Vegas. I doubted them in round three. I
I
had
did too.
Dallas. Jesus, man, like I cannot doubt them
Am I
this
going to
time. I
doubt again?
cannot.
I'm going to doubt against them too
Okay, okay,
in the Cup final, and
okay.
I'm just gonna wait to fall flat on my face again because I
Hey,
know it's gonna happen.
man, yeah, like I'm fully bought in. Call me gullible, but everything McDavid has been saying, especially just after they won the series, like I'm eating it up. I'm eating it up, talking about how, these games are emotional and they've still got a lot left in the tank. I forget his exact verbiage, but he basically said like we know the job's not done and we have the energy to get it done. We,
God,
we talk about it where it's like some teams in the first round, that is their Stanley Cup.
yeah,
Last year for the Edmonton Oilers, getting to the Cup was kind of the pinnacle, and then everything else was gravy. No, this year it's all business. The job is not done, and I like you just that absolutely shone through in their play, how they acted as a team after winning the conference final. McDavid's interview. I'm thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly impressed from top of the lineup, bottom of the lineup. I think the one guy, and you can tell me if you agree here, the one guy that I think deserves like a supreme shout out is Ryan Nugent Hopkins, who I believe now is third in playoff scoring behind, the two Monstars in front of him.
yeah, and
And he's got 18
uh,
points.
I was gonna say I think in the top five. Oh, I guess Bouchard is in the.
Mm,
He's tied for
mm.
fifth right
Okay.
now, but in the top five.
Yeah.
It's the Monstars, then it's Nuge at 4, and then
Yeah.
Evan Bouchard tied for 5
Okay.
alongside Kyle Connor, who had 17 points in that
Two series,
in
eh?
2 series.
Yeah.
Really, that
Yeah.
surprises me. And Barkov, right?
KFC, yeah, and Barkov, yeah. So on Ryan Nugent Hopkins. If you want to do me a favor there, Dave, click on Hopkins Nugent Hopkins stats there if
Yeah.
you've got him.
Mm.
Take a look at his playoff resume, just on his career. He shows up. I think outside of his first playoffs, he's been just consistent as
So
he can
since
be.
so yeah, there is definitely a thing to that. So since 21-22, um,
Yeah.
16 games, 14 points, 6 goals, 14 points. 22-23, 12 games, only 1 goal, but 11 points. Last year, 25 games, 7 goals, 22 points, so just under a point a game. And now this year, 16 games, 18 points, just
And
over.
on his
The
on his career, what are his numbers there?
the before that, like 20,
Like just what? Yeah,
2020,
like what are his totals? What are his total? Like, do you have like the how many playoff games he's played and how many points total?
I
I think it's
don't,
like
not on, not
I think it's
on.
like no problem. Yeah, I think it's like 85 games played and like 77 points. Like he's just under a point per game. Like he's just been
Yes,
exactly
but
what you need him to be.
the legwork's been done over the past 4 years because
Fair.
his
Yeah.
first playoff. So when they went to this
Yeah.
would have been the Anaheim when they lost to Anaheim in the
Yeah. I think I had like 4 points or something.
he did. He only had 4 points and no goals either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh,
not great like debut, but as he's gotten older and as he's matured, he's really taken that
yeah.
the playoff performer to the next level. Like he's really
Yeah.
taken up that mantle as a guy to be depended on. And somebody else who I listen, we kind of know his exploits, but Corey Perry as well, playing
Oh
alongside Connor
man.
McDavid, has just been frankly electric. It looks like 2007, 2008 Corey Perry, 2006,
Yeah.
2007 Corey Perry once again. Like it's crazy how he's
So
turning back the clock too.
he's now going into his sixth final, right? So he's 1-4 right now. Um, I believe from when I looked at this a couple days ago. He's I think the 78th player in NHL history to reach his sixth final. How many of them do you think have 2 cups or less of
Probably
those
very.
78?
I'm trying to even think like of the 78 of them, how many of them played pre 1967? I would say like
Yeah,
50 of them. And if that's the case, when
a
it's only
lot.
6 teams, those guys at least had 2 cups, I would say, right?
So
So,
there's 2 guys. There's two
okay.
guys. I don't have any. I gotta pull up their names, but they are both I believe from like the 40s, and one of them the only team he played on was the Leafs, and the other one the only team he played for the Leafs and Bruins in that time. And I think both of these guys went to 7 cup finals. And they only had 1 cup, 1 or 2 cups. I should have had this ready, but basically, like if Corey Perry loses, like he will enter this exclusive club.
What a
Yeah,
club to join.
yeah, I know it's an interesting one. The other crazy stat I've seen, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, is just like how many playoff games he's played since 2000 compared to teams around the league. There's 4 teams that haven't played as many games as him. I was just shocked by the teams on that list. Did you see this or no?
No, I didn't.
So the 4 teams that he himself as an individual has played in more playoff games than are the Bruins, the Lightning, the Penguins, and the Sharks. He's played more playoff games than all 4 of those
Over the
teams.
Sharks, the Sharks were making like they made
Yeah.
multiple, like
Yeah.
at least like conference final runs, I would say. Wait,
Yeah.
the Penguins too, you said? The team that
Yes.
made it to
Yes.
back-to-back Stanley Cups?
Yes.
Really?
Okay, so you know what actually so this is actually what it is. Okay. I found it here now. You know what it is? It's actually that he has more playoff games than I guess any team. Those are actually the 4
Oh, those are
leaders
the
in
ones that
playoff games.
he.
That makes a lot
Okay,
more sense.
that
You know what?
makes a lot more sense.
Someone told me this stat and asked me to guess the 4 teams he has more games than, and I was struggling. And then they told me that, and I'm like, wait, those are the 4 teams with like the Leafs. Like you told me the Leafs have more playoff games. Like it didn't math. Now the math. So he's actually
Yeah,
just better than everyone. Like he's just got played in more playoff games than everyone.
yeah.
Crazy. Corey
How
Perry,
far
man.
behind is he to number one? Like, who's number one on that list? It's
I
Boston,
well no, I
right?
think yeah. So he's at 230. Pittsburgh is at 219. Is where he's at.
Like,
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
yeah.
Like, that is frankly like
The other stat I
bananas.
saw is I think if the series goes to 6 games, he will be third all time in playoff games played.
Wow. Then
Yeah.
now that is a
Number
stat
one is
for.
Chris Chelios, who I think still has some distance from him. I don't remember who number two is, but yeah, I think if it goes 6 games, he gets into the top three. He gets on
Even
the
him
podium.
being in the top five, like I don't know if
Yeah.
like if you when you draft Corey Perry as an Anaheim Duck back in 2000, was it 2003?
Yeah. You're just
And
saying
like
let's win a cup at some point. That's what
yeah,
you're like.
and
That's to say that he becomes
imagine
the
telling
all-time
yeah,
playoff
imagine
great.
saying
Yeah.
he's top two all time.
Yeah.
Right now, top three is already ridiculous.
What does Ryan
That's
Getzlaf think about this? Seeing his
poor
old
guy.
running mate just still going at it here. He's just
It's time
still
to
chugging along.
go shine his
Yeah.
head.
Yeah. This is what happens when you join the Department of Player Safety. Is all appreciation for you gone,
Yeah,
gone,
yeah. I mean, I didn't
gone.
like him as a
Okay,
player either, but whatever, it's fine.
fair, fair. All right,
Um,
let's wrap up with our let's lock in some predictions here.
100%. I mean, I already
Okay.
kind of gave it away. I
Me
told
too. Me
you,
too.
I
Let's
told you I'm still
throw
gonna go
some games on
Panthers.
it. Okay.
See, I'm gonna say 7 again, just
Okay.
going based off of what we saw
Nice storybook ending.
last season. But now this year, if they go 7,
So Oilers win three in a row, and then Panthers storm back to get to Game
I don't
7.
know. I don't know. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be back and forth or if one team's kind of going to take a hold of the series. And I think if one team is going to take a hold of the series, I don't think it's going to be the Panthers. I think
I agree.
just based on how good the Oilers have been, I think the Oilers might hold on to it. Now it kind of will remain to be seen if they can take it and then also hold on to it. I think that's going to be the hardest part because we saw with the Leafs. The Leafs go up 2-0 in the series. They're painstakingly close to going up 3-0 in their series, and the Panthers they claw get rare. The
We
Panthers
say
they
it
just
every
claw
year.
their
Like,
way right back. They know how
who
to
won
win.
that series? Did the Panthers win that series, or did the Leafs beat themselves?
Oh
Right.
yes, 100%. But I
So
think also that also kind of discredits what the Panthers do
yes,
too,
yes,
right?
yeah. I'm just saying it more just like the Leafs had a winnable series, and that bodes well for the Oilers because they should be a better team than the Leafs, obviously. And yeah, you're saying in 7. I will say in 5. I am saying the Oilers in 5 here. I'm going to
Oilers
say
in 5.
for all the reasons you said, just in terms of like the Oilers can just keep chugging along. We saw Florida start a series sleepy before. I think the Oilers take a just chokehold on the series early. I think they go up 2-0, and I just really think that they're going to do it. I think they're just going to leave no doubt, and it's just going to be an emphatic win. I really
Fair.
do.
Then now just quickly going to the last two I guess like celebrated super. I don't know if it's like the last two teams to do. No, I guess it would be the last two teams to go to 3 straight or back to back Cup Finals. I don't know what the stat is, but it's like Wayne Gretzky in the '80s. They
Oh yes, so
lose to.
this is yeah. It's not even like
It just
this
cherry
isn't
picked,
like
right?
it's cherry picked in the sense of like here's like just the great ones, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
Gretzky loses to the Islanders, then goes back, plays the Islanders, and beats them. Uh, Crosby loses to the Red Wings, rematch, beats them. And yeah, no, history's lining up for McDavid to get the rematch and beat the Panthers. Hopefully, I don't know. It is too. It's the script writer's been crazy here, Dave. Like that is just
it has been.
that's
Uh,
a chef's kiss of a
that would
storyline,
be. That would be.
right?
So the on that note, the Stanley Cup Final will get underway on Wednesday. We're gonna have about a week between the last games of the conference finals and the start of the Stanley Cup Final. That goes on Wednesday at 8 o'clock in Edmonton, which I'm expecting the Oil to just absolutely show up and show out.
They usually do.
They typically do. You're right, 100%. It's going to be one of the most electric atmospheres, in the NHL. So I can't wait. I can't wait for this series to get
Same.
underway and see what what it holds for us. But on that note, thank you for getting through another episode of the Second Look Hockey Podcast. If you really enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the Second Look Sports account. You can also find our socials in the description of our channel, in our bio. Don't forget to share this with all your friends. Keep an eye on the Second Look channels, both channels, for more content coming this week for the Cup Final. And as always, we'll see you here next week.